Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And if you're trying to still figure out why the administration and our Republican colleagues cannot formulate a plan of action, look no further than the disgraceful diversions and distractions of some of our colleagues today. I want to address the First Amendment line of questioning first. Our distinguished colleague from Ohio keeps raising, for some reason, the Supreme Court decision in South Bay United Pentecostal Church versus Newton, which rejected his position just about 6 weeks ago in a 5-4 decision. A church said that the restrictions limiting the number of people who could go to church to 100 were perfectly constitutional because that was the exact same rule that applied to lectures, concerts, movies, spectator sports, theatrical performances, political party gatherings, and so on. In other words, there was no religious discrimination taking place, which is why the Supreme Court rejected the claim, and there is no religious free exercise exemption to public health orders, as you were indicating, I think, Dr. Fauci. So the parties in the case cited numerous cases of church gatherings with people unmasked, singing, chanting, and so on, that became super spreader events. There is no religious immunity to this disease, and there is no free exercise exemption to universal public health orders. Now, as for protest, let us not confuse the issue. Whether your protest is a right-wing protest, like Boogaloo and Proud Boys and anti-public health order protesters, like the ones who threatened the life of Governor Whitmer and tried to shut down the Michigan legislature and succeeded in doing so, or it's the nonviolent assemblies of millions of people with Black Lives Matter across the country, the kind endorsed by our late beloved colleague John Lewis, the champion of nonviolence, the same rules must apply. If a jurisdiction has a 6-foot rule and a masking rule, which I assume and hope every one of them does, it applies equally to everybody. And the preliminary results suggest, and I know because I've been to a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests, is people are not getting infected there as much because they are observing those rules. Obviously, when you go to an anti-public health order, anti-masking protest, like the kinds that shut down the legislature in Michigan, most people are not wearing masks and are not observing the public health protocols they've come to try to destroy. So if you're really concerned about the protests and people getting sick there, and we should be, then we have to look at the use of tear gas and pepper spray. Everybody saw the secret federal officers who were assembled by Attorney General Barr in Oregon remove the mask of a naval veteran and spray pepper spray right in his face. That's extremely dangerous to remove someone's mask and then to have them sneezing and coughing and so on. So it's the use of those chemical irritants, I think, which is the real danger. But Admiral Giroir, what I wanted to ask you was about the role that Jared Kushner has played in developing the administration's approach to, is he still with us, or is he? Oh, he's gone now. Okay. Well, Dr. Fauci, let me turn to you then. Are you aware of the role that Jared Kushner has played in developing the administration's approach to diagnostic testing?
I have no knowledge of that, Congressman, because I've not been involved in that. It's barely been Admiral Giroir being involved in that.
Okay. Well, then I'm sorry I missed Mr. Giroir in the second round. But yesterday, Vanity Fair reported something astonishing, which is that Jared Kushner recognized that there was no plan, and he formed a secret working group at the White House in March and April to develop a national testing plan, which operated in a, quote, bubble and did not coordinate with other experts at HHS. And they actually came up with a very detailed and potentially effective national testing plan. One person involved said it wasn't rocket science, but it was a real plan in which the government would coordinate the distribution of test kits in an aggressive program of contact tracing across the country. But the White House reportedly dropped the plan, according to this article, how Jared Kushner's secret testing plan went poof into thin air. Okay, the White House dropped the plan on the political logic that the outbreak was going to be limited to Democratic states. This is back in March in New York and New Jersey. And you remember there was a lot of talk about how this was a blue state disease, and there was somehow some kind of political or ideological immunity to getting it. So they thought it would be a better strategy just to pit the states against each other in that vicious free-for-all for equipment and materials, and then blame the governors when everything went wrong. And we've seen the shocking, devastating results of just letting it go and not having a plan at all. With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.